if you're starting a YouTube channel from scratch, there are people, and we've helped a bunch of them, who are making 7 figures a year just from advertising on YouTube channels. And then you get brand deals, and then you get speaking gigs, and then you get book deals, and they're running multi-million-dollar companies just from their YouTube channel without even selling anything. If you're so afraid of making your first video or doing your first Instagram live or whatever, and then you do it, it's like, okay, that actually wasn't, like, nobody died, you know, that wasn't that bad. Most people start a New Year's resolution, I'm going to lose 30 pounds this year, and then like 3 days in, they're already back eating ice cream and everything else, right? So community is more important than the content. But you already have people on Facebook, you already know how to use Facebook, keep it in Facebook. For phase 1. The vision that you've got is so big for this, there's going to be many phases.
Yeah.
I did some live coaching with 4 members of my Movement Makers paid community, and here is their story and some of the highlight moments. Enjoy.
The podcast started over a year ago. I have a couple of different businesses. It's called The Kindling Project, and it's a company that we do events and create spaces for women to amplify women's voices. And so we host different women in entrepreneurship and interview them. We're less interested in what they're doing, more interested in how and why and how they overcome the barriers. Because we know our listeners are at home thinking, could I do that? What I really want to hone in on myself, my own brand, is launch up as a speaker, an author, a thought leader, and go beyond entrepreneurship and really connect with a specific niche group of women who are honestly unfulfilled and are sort of going through the motions, not sort of, they're absolutely just going through the motions and yet not fully fulfilled in their lives. Now, this could be an entrepreneur or this could be a stay-at-home mom and anything in between. So my goal is to talk to those women. Women, I believe, do not take up enough space in this world. They do not take up enough space with their voice. And if women started showing up, really showing up in this world, imagine the trickle effect that it would be, not only in policy, but boardrooms, politics, society, families. It would change the trajectory of where we're going. Women lead with empathy. Women lead with a compassion. Women lead with common sense. I'm sorry, you know, they're less divisive and more like, where's the common ground? And women tend to lead with love. And so maybe I'm just very optimistic and naive perhaps, but I believe in it. I believe in the power of women, and I believe it's much better if we do it together as sisters. And so creating that wrap around the way I communicate and hopefully connect with women to inspire them, to nudge them to wake up. YouTube is something I have never really played with. Gen X women, right here, 50-year-old, not really my cup of tea in the sense of social media in general is really a foreign concept for me. I need some hand-holding, if you will. I am starting YouTube because I really want to talk to women, Gen X women, about what I call my sleeping beauties, women just going through the motions, you're not fully living. And I do this all the time in my own community and through community building and different companies, and I blog. So I mentor a lot of women, and I'm sort of stuck between mentoring and coaching, because I'll be honest with you, the idea of coaching gives me a bit of like night sweats. The idea of just, it's such a crowded field. Now we have coaches for everything. And not only do we have coaches for coaches. And it just feels like a really, really busy lane. But I do want to get out there and I do want to make money because I've been giving this stuff away for free.
You can call it mentoring, that's fine. What are you selling right now? Or are you selling anything yet?
All I do now is I do some public speaking. And I do everything else for free, really. Community building, blogging, writing, doing podcasts, and now YouTubing, but it's all free content.
So when you're helping women,
yes,
so even the ones you're doing for free, is there like an ongoing relationship? Have you seen results? Are they talking to you once a week? Or like what has worked so far, even in the free stuff for you?
Definitely the progression of getting them from idea or just getting them to be able to say out loud what it is that they want and desire, and then walking them and guiding them to the next step and actually doing it. Yes, I've been part of that process. I've had amazing results from that perspective. And I love it, right? So I genuinely just enjoy it. And so I've just always been doing this. It's sort of my jam. But now I feel like I want to elevate it and I want to take it to a whole new level. And is it through charging people, or can I become a thought leader through YouTube, hence you guys, and my writing and speaking?
So everybody in Movement Makers has a big mission.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're trying to help everybody's trying to help so many people, which is why it's so great to be like, we're kind of weird. We're weird ducks,
Yeah.
right? So you say, I want to go and change the world. Like, what are you talking about, Monica? What are you saying right now? It's crazy. There's a path to get there, and it's not that you can't do it through thought leadership and YouTube and speaking and books and all of it. It's just it's a journey. Mm-hmm. And most people end up leaving along the journey because they're not making money. And so if you're starting a YouTube channel from scratch, there are people, and we've helped a bunch of them, who are making 7 figures a year just from advertising on YouTube channels. And then you get brand deals, and you get speaking gigs, and you get book deals, and they're running multi-million-dollar companies just from their YouTube channel without even selling anything. But that's a journey to
Mm-hmm.
get there, and we're now targeting, okay, how do we go get 1 million subscribers of the right people? And so that doesn't happen. We can get there faster, but it doesn't happen usually in a fast enough time frame for people to stay on the journey, because ultimately you need to make some kind of money to continue mm-hmm. this, and then to build team and everything else. And you can get there a lot faster if you had 10 people working with you instead of you doing it by yourself or whoever's currently on team. So that's usually the focus. Then becomes, okay, well, how do we make money in service of the mission to then help us get to create the big mission? And so that's usually where, like, having some kind of product, service, offering something that you're selling that then funds the development of the long-term brand. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It makes sense. So if I'm hearing you correctly, coaching would just give me a channel of funds, if you will, that I can then launch other things.
Whether it's coaching or something else, or whether we mm-hmm. want to call it mentoring or whatever, awaken the sleeping beauties, or whatever we want to, brand it as. Whenever you can have a revenue stream that supports our mission, mm-hmm. as opposed to having to have some job that has nothing to do with our mission because there's bills to pay every month, then it makes it easier to get momentum going. So usually it's, how do you sell something that's higher priced to fewer people, so it doesn't take up a ton of your time and bandwidth, and doesn't need to then create, like, if you had a membership program with charging $40 a month, it takes so many members to turn that into meaningful revenue that then that eats up all of your time and all of team's time, instead of doing the thing that you actually want to be doing. Mm-hmm. So it's usually thinking, what can I offer to people who have budget that is higher priced, and I work with way fewer people, which then allows me to make an income, plus free up my time to be able to make content and do all the big things, planting seeds mm-hmm. for the big brand that you're creating.
Okay. I hear you there. And so how do you feel about niching down? So I know exactly who my avatar is. I know who I'm marketing towards. But do you feel starting out it's okay to be, for example, I am in Facebook and I have community in Facebook. I am now going to try YouTube. I have podcasting. Is it possible that I'm trying too many lanes and I should hone in on one?
The best way is through referrals. So, like, step number 1 is figure out, what are we going to sell? So we have our mission down, right? You have the North Star is down. Mm-hmm. We want to help awaken the sleeping beauties around the world.
Right. I want to help women discover their joy, because I know they can be anything and do everything.
It's a giant mission. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. And we never want to lose sight of that, because if you're just mentoring 10 women, that is not enough. Like, that's a stepping stone to get to where we want to go, but that can't be the final destination. So that's ultimately where we want to go. Amazing. Now, what's the fastest path to be able to help us get there? And if mentoring women is the thing that then allows us to get the income stream to then hire the team to help us build something much bigger and faster, then it becomes, okay, who are the people that we need to connect with, who can be referral partners to mention your name, to pass on business. So who are the types of people? So now if we're looking at, okay, let's say we wanted 10 women inside a mentoring program where they're going to work with you, and design an awesome mentoring program. Don't make it a cheesy coaching thing that you hate.
Okay.
Like, what would get you excited? So like calling it mentoring could be one thing, cool. But what would it be that would be awesome for you? That's not your just your typical coaching program that everybody else has. Because if you're going into it it's like, oh, God, I did this stupid call again. Like, then that sucks, right? I like doing this. This is great. Like, I like meeting you. I like hearing your story. This is fun for me. And when I look at this in my calendar, like, this is exciting and not like, oh my God, I got to do another stupid live session, right? So what would actually be fun for you that will help these women get results, and design a program around that, which is why I was asking at the beginning, like, what do you do for women? Is it a monthly meeting? Are you on Zoom calls together? Is it a group thing? Do you want them to come to your home state once a quarter and you're going to go and go on some adventure tour? Or it could be anything. It could be anything you want. So because it could be anything, make it anything. Like, make it something that gets your heart excited. I mean, I wouldn't even worry about the labels. You don't even have to call it a mentoring program. It could be called anything. Unlocked Sleep and Beauty, whatever. It could be whatever you want it to be. But design something that is going to pay you, that is exciting for you to show up for these women. Because if there's a woman in front of you who is struggling and wants to break free, you're going to love helping them. So now it's just like, how do we package it? And targeting people who can afford to pay you, especially at the beginnings. So we have a higher end thing, and then we work our way towards the lower end thing. And the ultimate lower end thing is YouTube and content, which is free. So you're helping the world at scale, but that takes a while before you start getting paid to do it.
Right. Okay, so I hear you. I understand what you're saying. You're setting it up. I like it. I think I can wrap my hand around that. And so it's less about the lanes that I provide my content. Is ultimately I need to sort of funnel the right people to get me that exposure for people to buy into whatever the program I designed or whatever that is.
Yeah, and if I would challenge the language a little bit, I'd say wrap your heart around it instead of wrap your head around it.
Okay.
Like, what would you actually love doing? This would be awesome to show up and do this with these women.
Yeah, for sure. Anything in person, like the whole human connection for me is where it's at. I think that's when I see the most transformation, is when we can gather, and that's where the healing begins and where we can move. Yeah.
So whether that's like I mean, again, it's anything that you want it to be. So is it a monthly meeting for 12 months? Is it a quarterly get together over the year? Is it 6 weeks of intensive of coming to see you? Like, it could be whatever you want. Is it just at a conference room and hotel room? Like, probably not. Yeah. Are you getting out in nature? Are you doing meditation? Are you going to the spa? Are you like, I look at a lot of the guys groups are like, if they're going hunting and they're doing, so like, what's your version that you are going to do with them that helps them on their healing journey? Like, there's so many things that you could do. It obviously has to work. Like, if you're trying to help a woman go through a transition and unlock her sleep and beauty, what is the thing that they need the most? Is it better to spend one-on-one time with you, or is it better to be a group dynamic and you're getting 10 women together, or 5 women together, or 20 women together? Like, and you won't have it perfect.
Right.
And we don't need it to be perfect, but we want to be excited about it and wrap our heart around it. Because if you're excited by it, your enthusiasm, even how you showed up to this before we even started, you're dancing and moving, like, that energy poured into your own program. It'd be so cool if we could do this and then go and do that, right? Someone put it in the chat, probably one-on-one. Maybe, like, that's maybe what you would do, but maybe not what she would do, right? Maybe the group work is actually better, or some kind of combination. Like, it could legitimately be whatever you want it to be, but you have to be excited by it. Step 1 is like designing the program that you think would work. And we don't necessarily need to plan that out here on this live, but I would go for a walk. I would spend time in nature. I would wherever you feel free and creative and not the limiting thoughts and beliefs. So we're not thinking coaching and all the negative association with it, just like where you can just be totally free and unlock that and design your dream program to help women. And then it's thinking, okay, how many women do I need to get? And we don't, if you price accordingly, we're only looking at like 5 to 15 women. This is not for America yet.
I like that.
So then so now we have something to talk about and even sell, like, but we don't have to have a negative connotation around selling. You're not out there like knocking on doors to say, hey, buy my encyclopedias or something. It's service or help or whatever word you want to throw in there that can really assist. Because if they could have done it on their own, they would have done it already. They're struggling. They need help. They need a guide. They need you, and they need this program that you're going to create. So step 1 is create the program that energizes you. Step 2 then is thinking, before we get to platforms and Facebook and everything else, step 2 is then, who are the people who know these target 5 to 15 women? Who are the types of people who have the connections into those women?
Yeah, okay.
And so like if you're targeting entrepreneur women, then maybe we're thinking about lawyers and accountants and bookkeepers and people who are connected to entrepreneurs. There may be other women's groups that are being created. And if you want local, then start local. Like where do you live? What city or state?
Michigan, Northville, Michigan.
Great.
Outside, yeah.
So, but if somebody's from like Detroit, is that
Detroit,
too far?
Oh no, that's very close.
Great. So you're around the big city. There's a lot of women in Detroit who need help. And you only need 5 to 15. This isn't something that we need people flying in from, Salt Lake City or California or whatever. So who are the connected people in Detroit who know the people that you could potentially help the most? So if it's entrepreneurs, there's those groups. If they're professionals, say they're C-suite women executives who are struggling, who feel isolated, who feel alone, who don't have any mentors or guides or who feel stuck, even though they should be on top of the world because they're the CEO, but like they hate their lives, right? Great. Who are the people who know those women, like highly successful executives? And so that could be recruiters. That could be other industry associations. And we're only targeting the women, right? Like your service isn't for men.
No, correct.
Great. So who are the people who then know the women in those groups? And so like when you figure out the ideal avatar, and it might be a mix, who are the people who know those people? Because the best way to build this is referrals. You want somebody saying, you know what, there's this woman I know who's really struggling, and I think you might be able to help her. And then you want that person talking to that woman to say, you should join this program, the Sleeping Beauty program, or whatever you end up calling it. You should go. I think this might really help you. You haven't found your answers yet, but I think this might be the program for you. That's the fastest way to grow this, more than any Facebook post, YouTube video, anything else.
Okay.
So like, how do you get to know the people who could help refer business to your new program?
Okay, I got it.
Great. So step 1 is make the program. That sets your heart on fire. Step 2 is identify who the target avatar is for you, who are successful women already, and success in the eyes of the world, but not in their own hearts. Like they don't feel like they're a success. They know they're destined for something else, even though when somebody else sees them, they look ultra successful. But we're targeting people who have budget, who can pay you, where your $10,000 program is not like the end of the world for them to be able to join you. And then step 3 is like, who knows the people who are connected to those women and could, if they knew you, they liked you, they trusted you, would lead to referrals for you naturally, without you having to be like a giant saleswoman all the time. So then the question, if you can make that list, the question becomes, what's the best way to get to know these people? Because they probably don't want to go for a coffee with you. They might, but the easiest way to get to know somebody is to ask them to be on your show. So they'll come on. Like if it's some HR recruiter, nobody ever asks these HR recruiters to be on their show. If you're trying to target, the CEO of Ford or something to come on your show, okay, they're probably not gonna. That's a harder get. But HR recruiter, entrepreneur entrepreneur organization. So like it's easier to get these people to come on. And so then you interview them, and then that becomes your YouTube show.
Yep.
And the point of doing the show is to build the relationships with the person so that you can get referrals for your program. When we're making money and we have clients coming in, then we can invest in team to be able to help us make all the other content, because having your 10 to 15 women program is, again, not, it's in service of your mission, but your mission is way bigger than helping 15 women a year unlock their potential.
True.
So when we're making money from team because we've created a program, then we can go much bigger. You can still keep the program if you want, but at some point, the revenue you'll be making from having 1 million subscribers and followers will eclipse what you're making from your program. And at that point, you can quit the program if you want, or if you still love it, you keep doing it, or hand it off to somebody else. Like, it's a good problem to have. I'm making so much money from my YouTube channel that I don't know what to do with this program, right? You can do whatever you want, raise the price, you got lots of options. So it's really just building the bridge to getting to what we want. The alternative is you spend 5 years just making content and making content and making content by yourself or a small team, and you hope something hits and you're not making any money. You have to do something else, job or something else to kind of pay the bills. And it takes actually longer to get to the mission because you're spending time doing something that is not in service of the mission versus actually doing a mentorship program, coaching program, whatever, that is in service of the mission.
It's true. I think the way you just said, building that bridge, just sort of cements the whole thing for me.
Okay.
I see it now. Yeah, it really did. Like, I understand now, like, for me to get to there, I need that crossover, that crosswalk, the bridge. Yeah.
And you could like theorize it and play it out. You know, if you don't, and you're only going the content route, how long does it take you to get to a subscriber level, a views level, where it's earning meaningful revenue? Like, you have to be playing the game where we're getting millions of views a month. Could you get there faster? For sure. We're happy to help. I mean, you'll learn a lot of movement makers on how to make better videos. And in the first 5 years of my channel, I had 2,000 subscribers or something. And in the next 5 years, I went to a couple million subscribers. A lot of that was from me, like, getting better and asking for help and learning. So the goal would be to get you there faster than it took me. But it's still a journey. Like, you still have to go through the process. And so it's nice to be making money along the way instead of waiting forever, you know, to make money while doing it in addition to whatever else you're doing during the day.
Okay. I like it. I think I always get so nervous around the idea of charging. You know, I don't know what it is with women and asking for money for something that we would just rather give. But I think you're helping me see that this is sort of critical for me to get to the next level.
You're basically helping people with mindset shifts. If you're going to help them uncover their potential, their sleep and beauty. So it's like the first mindset shift is for you.
Money.
Too,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Around money and charging. And there's two types of people. There's the people who value their time more than their money, and the ones who value their money more than their time. The people who value their money more than their time will never hire you. They'll never, like, you're charging $10,000 for this? That's crazy. Like, that's insanity. But they'll watch your YouTube videos all day long. It's like, great. And most people are that. That's awesome. That's not who you're targeting for your first, 5 to 15 women. There are other people who value their time much more than their money, where they don't want to sit there. Even if you put all your information on YouTube, they don't want to sit through the process. They'll pay for speed. And the more financial success somebody has, the more they're used to paying for speed.
Yeah.
They want it faster. And I'm sure there's some things that you've bought where you want it faster and you pay for speed.
I'm paying for now because I didn't know nothing about YouTube. I'm like, I'm going to the best, right? But I did. I'm like, I'm going to go to the best, and they're going to help me shorten the time. And it's that to me is value. So I see that.
You're paying for speed. And so there's this is not just a woman thing.
Yeah.
Anybody who has had financial success and the more money they have, the more used to paying for speed they are. And that's their default mindset. They don't want to sit through your 100 videos and your long form webinars. Like, can you help me?
Right.
Can you help me now? How much is it? Cool. Like, where do I sign? I mean, I want to change my life, and I don't want to wait 3 years to do it, and that it's free. Like that equation, that me taking 3 years to do it versus paying you $10,000 to help me solve my problem is an easy equation for some people.
Right.
For most people, no. For most people, it's like, that's insanity. Cool. That's not who we're targeting. And so at the beginning, it's finding the people who value their time much more than their money. Their time is worth a lot of money. And so $10,000 or whatever you're going to price it at. But this is not a $50 thing. If anything, a $50 program, or I'm just picking a really low number, it's like, what? That's all it is? Oh, it can't be that valuable then. Like, she's not the one for me.
Yeah. Okay. I'm on it. I got this. This feels good.
Good. Well, you said the right word. Feels good.
Yeah. So this is great. So thank you so much. I feel like you're such an amazing curator of all things, content, everything. Thanks so much.
Much love.
I feel really great. And I went into it obviously very excited because he's Evan. I mean, what's not to love about that? But my hesitation has always been with this word around coaching. It just gives me this sort of hives, if you will. And I think I really appreciated how he explained it and gave me this vision. He sort of took my lens, my little, what I'm looking at, and he like, whoop. And he came out of it and zoomed out to be like, well, if you want to get there, you need a bridge. And what does that bridge look like? And let's create that bridge. Let's help you build that bridge. Because if we build that bridge, it's all over there on the other side. But we got to get that bridge built. And I think that sort of mindset of, oh, yeah. And that bridge, based on what he's saying, and I actually agree with him, I don't need millions of women to walk through that bridge with me initially. I can do it with a handful of women if I do it right, which is another thing I really like, because I always think of that coaching one-on-one that could take forever to build. But the way he explained it, it felt really doable and something I can actually get really excited about.
I actually grew up in Washington, D.C. I traveled around the world in the hospitality field as a professionally trained chef, working in resorts and hotels, and as a consultant for years as well. My parents were restaurateurs, so they owned 3 restaurants in Washington, D.C., and I grew up in the environment and really kind of fell in love with it. Early on, I worked a lot. I was an executive chef for years, and I moved to a position of a corporate chef, traveling around the world. And then ultimately, though, started having kids. I actually became a vice president of culinary operations for a big specialty food retailer called Balducci's in New York. I got into consulting in the early 2000s. I had so many suppliers and partners and private label companies that I formulated recipes for that actually packaged them for us under our branded labels, asked me for help in various things, whether it's production or financial modeling or kitchen design or what have you. That there were so many requests that I just said, I'm just going to try consulting for a while. So I started that in 2004 and did that for 12 years. And that really has led me to, in large part, sort of my mission today, which, I'm a partner with a local gentleman. He runs a business called Farm Fresh to You, and it's about local farms and food with integrity and only using farms and suppliers who use holistic farming practices, who offer organics, non-GMO, and the wild game side. We're buying a business that specializes in organic, minimally processed, natural habitat, wild game animals that, bison, elk, wild boar, ostrich. And I'm really looking at this now from a sort of personal responsibility perspective. And part of my mission is to expand in that area, to be a voice and a supplier for foods that are good for you, that are nutritionally dense, that come from a place of integrity. I want to put a dent in the universe. I want to do my part in helping others and working with and coaching, thousands of people over the years, and seeing folks who struggle, some unnecessarily, some because they see ghosts that aren't there, some who have real life challenges and problems. I wanted to be part of the solution. I wanted to become someone who others can lean on to help them see things through a different lens, to help them understand that their problems could be turned into solutions. I always enjoy helping people and coaching. That's kind of really the frame of mind that led me here. I'd really like to get your take on just the coaching space, where it's headed, where you see the needs emerging, and what your thoughts are on where people need the most help.
Your specific area is executive coaching, correct?
Correct.
And are you looking at CEOs, typically corporate entrepreneurs? Like, who is your typical client?
Yeah, it's C-level executives, it's serial entrepreneurs, and the folks who don't maybe quite fit in to the typical definition of an executive. Those who are sort of groundbreakers and movement makers, and people who who have a different perspective on what success looks like.
I'm super bullish on the space. I mean, I think more than ever, people are looking to get help and getting personalized help, which leads to executive coaching. And if you look at the old world of corporate, how would you learn? How would you get mentorship? Well, you're relying on somebody in the organization, and hopefully you have a good boss, and hopefully they take you under their wing, and hopefully they teach you something. Where now you don't have to rely on that. And so if anything, I think it's only going to be bigger, only more popular, but it's figuring out like, what's the niche? How are you different than other executive coaches? Why hire you, etc. The good news is for most executive coaches, like, are you working with people one-on-one, or are you doing group work?
I do one-on-one primarily.
Yeah,
I do some small groups.
Like, how many clients can you have in a year or at a time?
Well, the deep coaching that I do is really 6 is all I can have, because it's an annual thing, and I do a session with them live wherever they are too. So to me, I think part of the being effective it requires that you understand the environment that they live in, because habits, patterns, behaviors, rituals happen in quite often because of where they are. The daily environment that they live in, the people that they're around. Part of my approach is to really understand where you are, where you live, and how these points of stimulus really affect your habits and behaviors.
If you only need 6 people a year, man, I mean, it doesn't matter where the industry is going. I mean, it's a bullish industry that I think is going to keep growing, but you only need 6 people. Even if you're selling like horse and carriages, there's more than 6 people who want to buy those, right? I mean, to the people in Central Park, New York, there's already more than 6 people. So I think it's less about where the industry is going and more how do you charge top dollar for the right people and get them attracted to you to want to work with you.
I found it most effective if I can tap into their emotional and creative mind first, because it seems to me, my impression looking at traditional coaching and even therapy is it's a little too clinical, it's a little too sterile. So I really come into with an approach of looking at the creative mind, the emotion. If I can tap into that, and we can then discuss your problems through a different perspective, it's much easier in my experience to open them up and to really get at what the core issues are.
Even leading with something like that, like, hey, this isn't therapy.
Yeah.
This is high performance coaching. This is not therapy.
Yeah.
Therapy also is massively on the rise, and I'm bullish on the space, and people need it. But the differentiates, like, I'm not your therapist. I'm not the guy you go to tell about all your problems and you're going to lie on my couch, right? And there's a need for that, but like, if that's what you need, don't come to me. I'm not your therapist. This is high performance coaching, and laying the line in the sand. Because some people are like, okay, yeah, I don't want a therapist. I want performance coaching.
Right.
And then they know it's you.
And sometimes that results in, people not liking what they hear, because I'm not one to tell you what I think you want to hear, but, I try to do my best to be transparent and honest, and, let's talk about what's really holding you back. And sometimes that doesn't feel good, and sometimes it's even painful.
Th-
But it's,
This is all great to put on the site. Like you
yeah.
may not like what you hear. Well, like, because then you attract the people who want that,
Yeah.
right? Like, this is not therapy. You may not like what you hear. I'm not here to make you feel good. You know,
Right.
it's like, okay, this guy he's not going to give me a lollipop if I tell him my problems, right? I mean, so it's being upfront with what you're looking for in an ideal client. And again, like, you don't need to make everybody happy. You're looking for 6 clients.
That's a good point. It's almost a super niche space to be in, because, you know, I almost qualify my clients. I'm not in a position where, you know, I have to have people. I really choose clients that really will take the help, the support, the insights, people who truly, in my experience, are those who think they want coaching and support, as long as you tell them what they want to hear. But those who really want change, you know, those are who I'm looking for, because, you know, quite frankly, it shouldn't take, you know, a year or 2 years or 3 years to break through and make change in people, right? It should take weeks or months. But quite often you fight through those inhibitions, those self-limiting beliefs that they hold true to themselves, and they don't want to give them up. They think they do. They want a different result with the same behaviors and patterns and habits, but they're not willing to do the work.
All this is great for the website. You know, it doesn't need to take. It shouldn't take a year to make a breakthrough. Yeah, like another great part for your site. But anyway, you're Movement Makers, a lot of content, obviously, through the program and the content clinics we do. But is there a question, something specific I can help you with?
The most effective way, from your experience in that breakthrough, the initial, you know, 2 sessions, 3 hours, whatever it is, what have you found to be most effective in terms of building trust, getting people to open up, and really taking part and participating in their own improvements?
So I would start with self-selection. So that's why all of the things we just talked about, honestly, have one on your website. So it's super obvious that I know what I'm getting, that I'm not here to get a hug or a pat on the back or any of those things, that I'm here because I want to make a change, and I'm going to be honest, and you're going to push me. So I'm not surprised when you push me. It doesn't mean that you're trying to be mean or anything, but you're not out there just trying to be nice. So people self-select in, where if you were on the street, you know, walking down the street and saying, hey, you know, you need some career coaching or something, like, what are you talking about, man? Get out of my face. Like, most people are not ready for a hard push forward. Even entrepreneurs and successful corporate, you know, it's like they're just not ready for a hard push forward. And so you want the ones who are. And so a lot of you want somebody who is already ready to make a big breakthrough at your doorstep, as opposed to trying to convince people that they need to make a big breakthrough. Like people in Movement Makers, like you want to build a movement, you want to build your business, you want to be a thought leader. I'm not convincing people to come in that they need to do that. We attract the people who already want to do that, and then we help them. So like selection is already going to be 90% of the job, just getting the right person to talk to. What I find helpful in terms of then getting them to take the leap is having a strong enough why. I mean, like, what's the reason why they're doing this? Why are they here talking to you? What are they hoping to learn? You know, why is making this change so important? Because a lot of times people obviously have the nice to haves, like, oh, I really want to be nice to be here, but like, is it a deep enough why for them to make the shift? And if you can connect to their deep enough why without them feeling judged or hurt or beating themselves up for the lack of progress on it, that's always what I end up coming back to. So when I'm coaching somebody, and we go through in Movement Makers, there's two modules on this, and you can leverage whatever you find helpful. Not to tell you how to do your process. First step for me is always just gathering information. I'm curious about them. I'm asking questions. I just have a deep curiosity to find out why they are even here. But there's no advice. and you're looking for patterns in even the most innocuous questions. So I'll ask them about the day. I'll ask them about like, hey, what's that statue behind you on the back? And what's with all the different masks that you got going on? And just learn about them and how they explain things, like how they tell you about their last weekend speaks to how they see life. And, you know, you going on and telling me a story about why you like that mask so much or what you did last Saturday gives me indications for your belief system, your value system, which I'm just kind of storing in here. It's like, okay, that's interesting. Not judging, just because when you're asking questions about their pain point, a lot of times their walls start to go up and they get defensive, which then makes it harder to break it down. But if you're asking them about their weekend or something that excites them, like the statues behind them on their wall, it gets them to open up and they are more natural themselves. And then you're keeping track of, okay, that's interesting, you know, why he said these answers, which then I'm storing so that when we then get to, okay, well, tell me why you're here and tell me what you're struggling with and tell me, you know, why are you hiring an executive coach and what are you looking to grow and build and create and do and change in your life? Then they start telling their story. There's a mark always when I'm doing like a hardcore coaching session where I'm gathering information until I know what I need to know. And then we're getting into coaching. And then there's the push. Like, okay, that's awesome. Now here's what we got to go off and do. If you're not hitting some kind of pushback or defensive,ness, then you're not hitting the right point. They say, yeah, that's great. Yep, I'm going to go make that change. Oh, perfect. Yeah, I need to sleep more. I need to have that conversation. Cool. Like you're not really hitting the point if there's zero pushback or zero defensiveness. And so I'm looking for the defensiveness and then the willingness to like hang in there with them and pull them through. Like, we're going to get through this together. And I'm using all the things that I was listening to and picking up on in asking the seemingly off-topic questions that speaks to their personality and how they see the world and their belief system to help push them to get them through. And then usually by the end of a session, it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do right now? And not just go home and do it later, but be with them. Like, take the action in the coaching session. So they need to have a difficult conversation with somebody at work. Okay, like, can we call them right now? Can we send the email at the very least to set up a time with them for next week? Because if you're a great coach, you're taking somebody to a different level of belief. You're taking them to like this better version of themselves. But there's a half-life on it. Like, as soon as you hang up the phone or as soon as you start talking to them or you're meeting in person and they go home or whatever, every minute that they're not around you, they start losing and they start falling down a little bit to the point where like a week later, they might be only just a little tiny bit ahead of who they were when they first met you. And so their confidence starts to fall and their belief system starts to fall. But what's the most important thing is just taking the first step, because the second step and the third step are so much easier. So if somebody's like, I want to get in shape, like, I'm tired of being fat. Like, okay, great. Well, how many push-ups can you do? I don't know, like 4. Cool. Give me 4. And like, they go and they do 4 in front of you. Is 4 push-ups going to do anything for them? No. But it's like the first step that then you did that scary thing, hard thing with them. Not that you're doing it for them, because you can't do the push-ups for them. You can't do the phone call for them, but you're supporting them through the hardest step, which is the first step to start taking momentum. And so maybe it's a long way of answering this question, but if you're bringing in the right person who already is motivated instead of trying to convince them to be motivated, and then you tap into their why is this so important, and then you do the actual first step, no matter how small it is, with them to start building confidence and momentum, I find that it has a much higher rate of success, especially with the long run.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, because I'm a big believer in questions too, because the only way to really get in someone's mind and understand how they think, what they believe, is to ask questions and then just listen and be a great listener and pick up those cues, whether it's body language, which is, arguably more telling than the actual verbal. It leaves a lot of clues. And I like the idea, though, of action in the moment, behavioral change right now, sort of training the brain to say, here's the challenge, here's what we're going to do. Yeah, that's great input. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's like if somebody's challenge is I need to have a conversation with my VP. Okay, so let's call them. But like, what's the resistance to calling them? Because if you can't do it now, why are you going to be more brave in a week when I'm not here?
Or
right?
in front of them.
I'll coach you through it. And like, even if you don't hear from me, it's like I'm not talking, but just being there, I want to see. Let's do it right now. You're feeling this call. You're having a moment of boldness and courage. Let's use it to our advantage, and not sit on it for a week. And whatever like that, you're probably not going to solve the big thing in the moment. I don't know how long your sessions are, hour, whatever. You're probably not going to solve the whole thing in an hour, but whatever that first step is, so they feel, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. Oh my God, like Stephen just made me, this is crazy. I can't believe I've been sitting on this thing. Like how many times are people sitting on these, if they're coming to you and they're in need and they really want to change something, it's not that they just thought of this idea yesterday and now they're highly motivated. Like they've been sitting on this for years. And so now you're going to be the guy who hopefully can help them unlock it. So most people take 10 years to take the first step. And so all you're doing is helping them gain the courage, belief, momentum to take the first step. And then everything becomes so much easier. Like when I'm helping people make videos, like just record a video, make your first video. So many people are afraid to make it. Me too, by the way. Like I was super terrified to make a first video. I opened my YouTube account in November of 2008 and didn't post my first video till April 2009. So it took me like 6 months to just record a video and put it up, right? So I'm not better than anybody else. It's the same thing, but that's our job as coaches, to help people go faster. So if you're so afraid of making your first video or doing your first Instagram live or whatever, and then you do it, it's like, okay, that actually wasn't like nobody died, you know, that wasn't that bad. And then all of a sudden they can do the second one without you having to be there, but you gave them the belief, the courage, the momentum to actually get started. And that starts the trajectory change in their life.
Yeah, that's so true. Because I mean, I've found that typically it's not, the issue isn't for people, it's not who they are, but it's who they think they're not. And you've got to work on I work primarily on taking things away, not adding things, because it's, in my experience, people think, well, if I was just this, or if I just had this skill or this talent or this understanding, I'd be different. But you got to get rid of the self-limiting beliefs first. So that, yeah, that's a great point. I think it's, what's the old adage? Amateurs practice until they get it right. Pros practice until they can't get it wrong. And I think that's really what I try to instill in the coaching is, what do we have to remove to be able to add the things that will actually be impactful for you and change your ongoing habits, behaviors, your beliefs, your values, all of those things. Yeah, that's very good. Appreciate that.
So that's great. Like if removing is one of the steps, then okay, let's remove something from your calendar right now, right?
Right.
So when you're talking to them, okay, well, in order to inject this new habit, we need to remove something first, because you don't just have magic time sitting around. Right. So what in your calendar can we remove that's going to prevent you from, once we do that, we can start implying this new habit. Because it's easy to think about, I'm going to remove it someday.
Right.
You know, I'll remove it next week, you know, and it's more fun and playful to think about. But then when you force it into like what do you mean now? Like right now? Like, yeah, right now. What, why that? And that's like the harsh language that's on your website. They've signed up for that. It's like, I'm not here to babysit you. Right. You said you wanted this. So yeah, right now, what are we removing from your schedule? What commitment do we need to drop so that you can make way for this new thing in your life? And let's send that email. Let's make that phone call, or let's whatever. And they do it while you're there on the call.
Yeah, take action in the moment. Yeah, perfect.
I remember going to the Tony Robbins. I don't know if you've ever been to his Unleash the Power Within.
I have, yes.
So the first time I went, it was early on in my career. I took 4 or 5 people from my team, and we sat like in the cheap seats. The second time, he invited me, because we had built a relationship, and he invited me to be his personal guest. And so you like sit right at the front. And at the end, you go on the coals. And you yell cool moss, and you like walk across the coals, and then you're a firewalker. And the whole point of that exercise is to show yourself that you can do difficult things. Like, what does it matter if you can walk? How is that a useful life skill to walk across hot coals? Like, you're never going to probably use it in your business or life again. But the whole point is to show yourself that you do scary, difficult things. I was at the end of the event, and I was about to go, and my friend and I were there, and I said, I need to go home right now, or go back to our Airbnb, because the thing that I need to do is actually leave 4 commitments that I'm in. Like, that's the actual firewalk for me. And my friend was like, what are you talking? We got to go do this thing. This is what I've been building up for. And like, because we're in a special sitting, Tony was going to be the guy yelling at us personally to go across the coals. It's like, you can go do that if you want, Mark, but I got to get back and I got to leave these commitments. And it was something that I've been sitting on for, I don't know, some of them a couple of years. It was a convenient thing for me to stay in, I didn't want to disappoint people. But I had outgrown this thing for a while, and I was just too afraid to go off and do it. And so I decided, while I'm in this energetic state, this bold state, that instead of going and walking on coals, I'm going to do the actual hard thing in my life, which was leave these commitments. And so, Tony helped me do that without him like personally coaching me. But that equivalent, like when they're with you, they're now feeling better, bolder, more courageous, like thinking about their dream life, because the people who come to you they're probably the most ambitious people that they know. And so you're there to help them become even more ambitious when they're surrounded by people who are less ambitious than them. And so they need that little Stephen injection of courage. And what's that sentence? Like 2 seconds of courage can change your life. Something like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically your job. It's like you're giving them the 2 seconds of courage to go do the thing that they're afraid to go off and do.
Yeah, that's a great point too, because I think through coaching over the years, I've found that really quite often the most difficult thing for C-level executives even to do is say no, because you have to say no in order to do the things that really require the yes. The most important things, that your 80-20, whatever you want to call it, the things that move your business, the things that move you forward, require no quite often. And some people have a very hard time saying no and moving on to their, that's cool, but here are 3 or 4 things that I have to do to move my life forward, to move my company forward, to move my business forward.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the origin of the word decision is to cut off.
Yes.
So when you decide something, it means you're cutting off the other things.
Yeah.
And
so
like, if you're trying to decide on your next great life, that means you have to cut off other things.
Bill Gates said it succinctly, busy is the new stupid. To be busy is easy. To be effective and productive is the hard thing. And I spend a lot of time on that with some of my clients as well, because you have to, in a world of 1,000 decisions or opportunities, you have to choose the ones that make the most sense, because everyone's bandwidth is limited, right?
Yeah, and then having the courage to go off and apply them.
Absolutely.
Which is where a great coach comes into play. A lot of times people even know what they need to do. Like, you look at a great personal trainer, they're not just telling you how many push-ups to do and whatever reps. I mean, there's a little bit of education, obviously, in doing that, but they're pushing you beyond what you would do by yourself. Because you would stop at 10 push-ups, but they're going to push you to do 14.
Right. Push you beyond.
And so,
comfort zone.
Pushing beyond the comfort zone. And now, especially, like, that's when you're dealing with people's mental comfort zones, when they may not be used to being pushed like that, especially in like C-suite where they don't really have a boss. Like, I guess, the shareholder's a boss, right? But not really. But here you are kind of pushing them. And they usually respect it. It's like, wow, like Stephen was harsh, but fair.
Yeah.
Like, this is how I grow.
Is quite often there's very few people that are willing to stand up to them or to challenge them. and they're not used to that. Being former CEO myself, I can attest to that. And if you're a great leader, you want people to push you. You want objections. You want people to test theories and test decisions, because the whole mastermind group mentality or theory is that 5 or 10 minds are better than one. So I think it does put clients in an uncomfortable position when there's someone there to say, you know what, I hear you, but I'm not buying it. Well, what do you mean? Well, you say this and you want that, and those two don't, those are not aligned. So talk to me about that. Back to questions. And that usually ends up resulting in uncomfortable conversations, but that's exactly where you need to be to make change, right?
Almost everything you're saying, like I just keep seeing on your website, is like, we're going to have an uncomfortable conversation, right? It's like, that should be, these are all great headlines. You just speak in headlines, basically. That could be great little sections for your website that when people find, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to talk to Steve, and I'm going to have an uncomfortable conversation. That's what I signed up for.
King
So
of uncomfortable conversations. I like it.
yeah, it's like, all of the stuff that you just naturally say, or at least have said in this session, it's basically all the talking points that if it was on the site that people saw, then they know what they're getting. And when they're referring somebody onto you, like people who end up seeing it, they know what to expect when they're hopping on a call with you coming in. And the people who don't want that self-select out, and it's cool because you only need, 6 to 10 people a year.
Yeah, love it. What are your thoughts? I'm an NLP certified trainer. I'm a life coach, certified health and wellness coach. And part of what I'm building is really getting people to this place where they don't look at work as their identity, and they don't look at personal life as, when I have extra time, I'll spend it there. I'm trying to build this mindset, this holistic mindset of, you don't have to choose. And they're both very important. And you can live a healthy life, you can be happy, you can be fit, and still be a great CEO. Have you run across this situation? Any words of advice or words of wisdom in terms of?
I don't judge what my clients want. If somebody comes to me and they say, when I'm talking about YouTube growth, for example, it's like, okay, why do you want to grow? Some people are just mission driven and they want to build an awesome community and they want to go make an impact in the world. Cool. Some people just want to make as much money as possible in the next 3 years. Cool. Some people only want subscriber numbers for vanity metrics because they want to look good. Cool. Some people need to hit 100,000 subscribers because that means they get a book deal. Cool. The people who I spend the most time with are the ones who are most aligned with me. So it's like, hey, I want to go and change the world. That's who I want in Mover Makers. That's what I want to spend more time with. But if I'm talking some big names, it's like their only priority is like, I need to maximize revenue in the next 2 years. Okay, cool. Like, ignore this stuff and you should focus on this. Or I only need to get 100,000 subscribers. I don't care if they watch any of my videos or become engaged at all, but that number means something because I just want the plaque. Cool, great. Like, so because you're only doing 6 people, that's cool. You can eliminate the people who aren't aligned with you for what you want to create and do. And if somebody's like, Stephen, like, I don't care about balance, dude. What are you talking about? All I want to do is like this. And if I'm only sleeping 2 hours a night and I'm a terrible husband and I get whatever, I don't care. I just want to go off and build my business. And you can maybe give them advice or say, you know what? Hey, man, I don't think this is going to be a right fit, because trying to convince somebody of something is not the game that I want to play. But having people who are already aligned, and that's why I was like, oh, the language on your website matters, so that you have people coming to you who are already aligned, so that it's an easier, you get to have the tough conversations that matter, which is their limiting beliefs, what's holding them back. Those are tough conversations. You don't want to have the tough conversations on why this is even important, why you should be a good husband. Like, maybe it should not be the tough conversation that you need to have.
It was a fantastic conversation. Evan's very receptive. He's very self-aware, and I think he's, his spirit is giving back, adding value to others. And it was a great conversation. I think my biggest takeaway during the conversation was to be natural, be who you are, play to your strengths, and don't hesitate to tell people what they're going to get with your coaching, because that preparation is everything for their mindset to understand what it is that they're really buying into. So I think that was probably the greatest takeaway, and some of his sort of nuanced points around how to adapt to people's personalities, and not to sell them on what you believe, but to sell them on what they believe, but in a very constructive way. Those are all fantastic points, and I really like his introspectiveness and the way he looks, the lens through which he looks at coaching. So very, very good conversation, great input and engagement. So very much enjoyed it.
So our stories begin at birth. My story really sort of started when I was about 5 years old, and I had an operation. I had a hernia as a kid, and my mom noticed it, and had sort of a traumatic surgery where it my mom thinks it sort of tweaked something in my brain a little bit. And so from 5 years old on, I had a speech impediment, a stutter. From call it 5 years old to about 20 years old, fear made almost every decision for me as a child. I never put myself out there, always quit. I was a quitter. I would start things, but never finish things because of just the fear of maybe even succeeding at it. Had this major event in a positive way in college when I had a speech class. I get up in front of my class with my 3x5 index cards, and I practiced this for 2 weeks. It was like a moment of truth for me, write a passage. I'm like, okay, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. All this positive self-talk. And I get up, and I go to read the first sentence, and it's like nothing came out. So as you can imagine, calling myself every name in the book just felt like a loser, felt like I lost. And so it was the lowest point of my life so far in my life, for sure. So after the class was over, I walk out to my car, I drive home, I commuted, and I've never been lower mentally. And I get in the car, start driving, turn the radio on after a few minutes, and this song comes on the radio, "You Can't Keep a Good Man Down." It was like God shot a bolt of lightning through the T-top, and I was flooded with all these feelings of gratitude. And so I had just all these thoughts, that was it. That was the moment. That was the thing you were avoiding for 15 years. That was the thing you were afraid of. And it's almost like, I got knocked down so hard and I got back up, and it was again, hindsight's 2020, but in that moment, my life changed. I quit letting fear make decisions for me, regardless of my speech impediment. And I sort of started attacking life versus living life defensively. So I actually got in the game, I call it, and instead of participating from the sideline. And I think the world opened up at that point. Got into real estate at 29 years old, buying houses and property. Over the past 20 years, I've built, a good portfolio of properties, residential and commercial. And I think because I look back on what my unique ability is, it's probably just creativity. And when you're creative without fear of what's going to happen on the other side, that opens up a whole new thing. So that's what's allowed me to sort of start and finish a lot of different businesses in technology, like golf courses, wineries, concert venues. And really the most important project that we're working on right now is called Freedomology. So that's allowing us to get this going, which we're super excited about. So Freedomology, I would call it more or less a movement. I would say that we're communicating these ideas through a series of sprints. We catch these snippets, these 60-second TikToks on vitamin D or vitamin B3 or NMN or a new way to fast or intermittent fasting. And so at Freedomology, we're taking all this science, grabbing all the best ideas and putting it in a framework, and then teaching that framework to people. Because I don't want to just communicate an idea, right? We really want to package it up and put it into a framework. We don't want to teach someone a new diet. We want to teach lifestyle. We want to teach and show people how our finances, our health, our relationships are all connected. They're all interconnected. And when we improve our health, we're actually improving our business because we're a more attractive leader. I'm bringing more energy. If we're healthier, we're bringing more energy to our relationships and bringing more energy to our businesses and our assets, and our income will go up. So I think in the highest sense, Freedomology will be a community of people improving in these areas that can connect with each other and get some coaching and get some information on mental health, physical health, environmental health, all these things that we talked about. We're trying to build a community around Freedomology, and this is the first time that I've gotten a chance to talk to you, Evan. So number one, it's great to be on here. I appreciate the time. I guess my first question is sort of a conceptual, maybe even strategic question. We have a technology company in real estate, and so we've been teaching people how to sort of achieve financial freedom through real estate for the past 15, 16 years. And one of the biggest things that I've noticed is that, many people who get into business, who start down that entrepreneurial path, they think that money is sort of going to be the key to happiness. And we've helped a lot of people build, significant net worth in real estate. And then they realize they wake up, one point down the road and they're, they don't have a good family life. They're getting divorced, or kids don't know them. Their health has waned. So I think the whole concept of freedomology is that there's a science to financial freedom, to building assets, growing a business. There's science behind, improving our physical and mental health. There's science behind improving our relationships, but there's an art to putting this all together, to actually living an incredible life. And so that's where we're really passionate. We've been teaching this just for the past few months internally. And we're doing our first public health sprint. We call it H40, which starts May 1st. So it's a free 40-day health sprint that we're doing. And so I guess my first question is, you think of building an audience on YouTube and other platforms. Talk to me just about community. So what would be the do's and don'ts of trying to build a community around that message?
I had a little context from Sean in terms of some background information he shared before this. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you ran this as a challenge internally at your company with some just insane success and results in the people at your company. And now it's bringing it to hopefully the world, right? I mean, next step is this free challenge. And then beyond that, I think community ultimately becomes everything, because the information, while I'm sure is good, is out there. If you wanted to lose weight, there's so many different programs on how to lose weight, and the information is there. And ultimately people know it's like, eat healthier and work out more, and inside of that, there's all sorts of nuances, fine. But the thing that gets people to stick to something is leadership and community. The fact that somebody's holding me accountable and I believe in that person. So, whether that's you, Greg, at the beginning, and then it's coaches or team or whoever the leaders are, it's like, okay, because Greg believes in me, I believe in me. Like, this time I can do it. Right. And that I'm not, it's like, if you hire a trainer, you're much more likely to stick to your training routine than if you just go to the gym and sign up, right? But also the community, that I'm not doing this alone, that there's other people doing it with me. Part of the reason why I would say your program did so well is not just the content, but that everybody is together. They're doing it together. They're sharing their wins. They're cheering each other on. They lift each other up when something doesn't go right. And that there's other people that are dependent on me, relying on me. I'm not doing this by myself. Right. Where most people start a New Year's resolution, and I'm going to lose 30 pounds this year. And then like 3 days in, they're already back eating ice cream and everything else. Right. So community is more important than the content.
Growing that community on YouTube. So we've talked to Sean about the three types of content, biz dev and thought leadership, and just walking people through case studies. You think all three of those, for us to try to foster this community and grow this community, all three of those would make sense for us?
Yes. I mean, biz dev, if you have something specific to sell, now it's about how do we get the first X number of people into this free program, and then how it's a 40-day thing, right? It's 40 days.
Yeah, it's 40 days. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So then how do we have to wait 40 days before we launch the next challenge, or can we launch the next one like 20 days in or 10 days in, having subsequent challenges going? But if you're struggling with getting people into the program, then biz dev can be helpful. Now it's free for now, but this is going to be a paid thing, right? Obviously we're going to make money doing this.
Some version. Yeah.
The coaching is probably the most important one. So the show me the process. How many people are going to do the training, the 40-day program?
We have a farm in Ohio. So we have two companies here in Northeast Ohio. We have a technology company, software company, and we have 24 team members who live in Northeast Ohio with real flow, lead flow. And then we have Mapleside Farms, which is a crazy sort of like agritourism business. We do like hay rides and corn mazes and, all that cool stuff in the fall. We had 2 companies here in Northeast Ohio. We have a technology company, software company, and we have 24 team members who live in Northeast Ohio with real flow, lead flow. And then we have Mapleside Farms, which is a crazy sort of like agritourism business. We do like hay rides and corn mazes and, all that cool stuff in the fall. We had people, 23 team members go through it. 21 people lost weight. 2 people didn't even need to lose any weight, right? Everybody lost body fat percentage. But I think the bigger thing, and what separates sort of H40 from, like you mentioned, there's science behind how to lose weight, like diet and exercise. But I think when most people think of health, they think of physical health. How good do I look? Like from a vanity perspective, or I need to lose weight, or my blood pressure is too high. And we're approaching it sort of from the inside out. Like mental health is the foundation, and physical health, obviously very important. And then we talk a lot about environmental health, which is that sort of connective tissue. Like, how inspired are you to go into work every day?
Yeah.
What does your home look like? How are you setting these environments up? Because environment is a big part of just overall health and mindset, and the way our brains will actually do something. And so we're building the whole framework around our natural instincts. So what people will and won't do. And again, I think that's why we're seeing incredible results. We'll probably have a few hundred people in the sprint.
Great.
So
wow. Okay.
We have about 400 people who've signed up just in the past, week or so. And I'd anticipate about half of those people will make it through the whole 40-day sprint. And we really want to take this as an opportunity to test these ideas, because we feel like the science, but there's the art of putting it all together and just making sure we can impact those people in a big way.
So can you do them concurrently?
We could. So our plan, this initial sprint, is not to do that, but we absolutely could, because there's a definitive start and end to the process. We have sort of 6 video modules and then 6 coaching calls. It's very simple. We're creating a video that I think we want to just post on YouTube. So imagine a 20-minute or so video that explains a concept. Week 1 is what we call Adam. So it's a morning routine. And it's a morning routine so easy you'll probably do it, right? So it's like ADAM. So activate the body, drink, appreciate, meditate. And we have a lot of science around this, and just why you can knock this out in 15 minutes a day. But then each one of the weeks builds on the other. So we don't want to throw people into the sprint in the middle of week 3 or 4. We want them to start at the beginning.
Oh, I 100% I agree. Here's what I'm thinking. You had success internally at your company where there's a lot of leverage, there's a lot of respect. They love you as a leader, that we're doing this together, teamwork, camaraderie. Now you're bringing people together who are not as connected. They know you somehow. They're in your world. They're not like just random person on the street, but the connection isn't as strong. They're not in the same building anymore. They're not seeing each other every day at work. And so there's a process to figuring out, how do you build that teamwork and camaraderie in a virtual setting? And the danger of doing that at 100 people is we don't really know what we're doing yet on the community side, and it's better to fail small and do a lot more quick starts. So if I'm you, I would take 10 people or 20 people and say, this is our beta group. Yeah. And it's a 40-day sprint. We'll still do it. Here are the modules. And you quick learn as you go. It's oh, we thought that the video was going to be the thing. And then we realized nobody watches a video, but they're showing up for this thing. Yeah. And so we're iterating, and we don't have to wait 40 days to get the data. And if you take those 100 people, you split them up over 4 groups that start every 10 days, still start at the beginning. Nobody's joining halfway through, 100%. Right. They're not joining halfway through a sprint, but we're taking 25 people at a time until you prove the models. We know exactly how to get strangers who've never met each other connecting online and doing this 40-day thing together, where they become brothers and sisters and get results and lose the weight. And then hopefully still stay in touch, whatever happens after the next 40 days. Maybe they come back into the future challenges and help out at the next sprint, and they're volunteers and they share that. There's all these things that will need to be figured out as you go, because it is challenging to get online. It's a very different community when it's online versus all, in your office. So that's what I would look at. I think the best content is probably this demonstrate the process, where you say, okay, if the first sprint is 20 people, you take 3 of those people and you do a coaching show with them. Okay. Like this. Yep. And you show up when Zoom or Riverside or Instagram, whatever, and you break down, why did they join? Why are they part of H40? Yeah. What are they hoping to learn? What do they hope to accomplish? And because you're so focused on the mental side of things, tell me about your environment. Tell me about your habits. Tell me about your morning routine. You've learned about Adam. Where do you think you might fall down with Adam? Did you do Adam yesterday morning? And so you're taking people and you're just coaching them, which they become much more connected to you, to Freedomology, to the process. You get to learn where the frustrations or the struggles are. Like maybe there needs to be a morning check-in for Adam. Maybe there's an alert. Maybe you get their text. You're texting them every day at 7 a.m. It's like, okay, don't forget to do Adam. Maybe people are posting their Adam. Gratitude? No, what's
so appreciate.
Appreciation,
So,
right? That's, I heard gratitude when you said that, but appreciate. Like maybe part of that step is they go to the group and they post what they appreciate. You know, it's like you'll figure that out as you go. But demonstrating the process is the fastest way to start getting feedback from people of what is working and what's not working. And you're not coming out saying we have it all figured out, we're perfect, this is the solution forever. It's like you're going to iterate and figure it out as you go. There's nothing wrong with thought leadership content or biz dev, but if you already have the people to do the free challenge, the next step is building community and getting the free challenge to work. Because if free challenge works, then there's the paid challenge, which will also work because you've proven the model. I would go heavy on the demonstrate the process content.
Yeah, that's what Sean was saying too. So how do you take if each week, just track with me for a second. If we're releasing a video, let's say at the beginning of each week, and then we want to have a live coaching call on let's say a Wednesday at lunch for 45 minutes. So there's going to be recorded content they can consume, and then there's going to be live content. The live content is going to be a lot of that, what you just described, like walking people through the process, going through what we taught them, how are they implementing it. We anticipate a lot of Q&A in that live coaching call. Sean was talking a little bit about posting both of those to YouTube because this is our first sprint, posting both of those videos to YouTube. How do you transition? Do you use an app like School or Patreon, the ClickFunnels, Kajabi? Like how would you transition people outside of YouTube, I guess? That makes sense.
So I would first collect emails. So
which we're doing.
If you want to join, give us your email address.
Like
going from a YouTube video is not right into ClickFunnels, it's into email. So what is the thing that they can get? If you want to join our next one, here's give us your email or go to this landing page and you're collecting emails. So then you can direct them wherever you want to go. For the payment processing, like landing page doesn't have to be super complicated right now. If you want to use ClickFunnels, you want to use Kajabi, really for the tech stack, what you're doing is a pretty basic thing. Like you're not developing some crazy new tech or Word or something else. So for membership that can house videos, Kajabi does it, School does it, ClickFunnels does it. Really, it's at the edge. The decision I make is who's going to help you do it and what are they comfortable learning. We're in ClickFunnels, cool. Kajabi does the same stuff. My tech guys know how to use ClickFunnels, so we're in ClickFunnels. Because you're not going to be the guy going in every day and coding anything. So whoever is doing the work, whatever platform they're most comfortable with, that's what you build on top of. For the community side of things, you could use a Discord server, you could use a Facebook group. That's really depending on age. So like if you're 40 plus, you're used to Facebook. If you're 30 under, you're used to Discord. A lot of like, if you're 25 years old, like Facebook, how old are you, man? Like that's for boomers. And if you're 50, you're like, I don't even know what a Discord server is. So that's more of if you want people to post their daily appreciations every day, post your daily appreciations. Where are they going to post it? Discord and Facebook are probably the two biggest ones. So you can start a Facebook group and that could be for all of Freedomology or it could be just your sprint. Discord, same thing, could be all of Freedomology or just your sprint. And that's where we're going every day. And you or team are in there cheering people on and congratulations and all that stuff. That doesn't necessarily even have to be figured out yet, but as part of the process. Like the demo is probably older, right?
We have sort of two audiences built in internal. Like we have two big email lists and two big audiences on Facebook, RealFlow, the software, and then Mapleside, the farm. And they're distinctly different. Like one is a female 25 to 50 females with kids that come to the farm. Like we have a winery. So that's the demographic there. And then our software is more male dominated, real estate investing, a little bit older. So we do have a Facebook group right now with a few hundred subscribers, but I'm thinking just like not everybody uses Facebook. So that's why we were thinking about school. Sean mentioned school and, you know, just doing this sprint through that. So then do you agree that we should post this content on YouTube, both the sprint content, so people that aren't even in the sprint are going to be able to see this content, this first go round? I mean, it's not a paid sprint, so it's not like exclusive content. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
A couple of things. So the sprint content really depends on how much you see this as your IP. Like if this is what everybody's going to be looking at later, then it probably should not be a public video, but this is delivered to people as they sign up for the challenge. The individual experiences and the Q&A sessions should definitely be content. Whether you're doing it as a group, like, hey, here's our group call, or whether you pick individual people, basically like we're doing now. Like we're here, you're in Mover Makers, you're in Mastermind. Great, that helps promote Mover Makers and Mastermind as well as helping you, and we're creating content, right? So you take members of people who are in the sprint. Someone who's at day 3 is like, okay, here's Jose. He's at day 3 of the sprint. How you doing, man? How can I help? And you're spending the one-on-one time to coach and connect with him. That then also gets turned into content. So it helps that one individual, but I get to see, and you're spending more time with one person than in like a giant group, or you might just answer a couple questions. If you're familiar with Facebook, I'd keep it in Facebook for now. Like if you think not everybody uses Facebook, well, nobody uses school.
Right.
I mean, some people do, obviously, who are in, but the number of people who use Facebook versus use school is ginormously different. So you're going to have to get everybody to sign up for a school account, where a good chunk of the people will already have a Facebook account. And it doesn't mean that in the future you don't navigate to something. Ultimately, this will be a much more sophisticated tech stack that you'll build out and create. But the first thing is building the momentum, creating the community, and showing that it works, especially with strangers coming together. So whatever the fastest way is, if you already have 2 successful Facebook groups, then I would stick with Facebook because they're already in Facebook.
Yeah.
So they could just go to another Facebook group.
Right.
That is for H40.
Yeah.
Or for, I mean, H40 is part of Freedomology. So however you want to slice that, but you already have people in Facebook. You already know how to use Facebook. Keep it in Facebook for phase 1. That there's the vision that you've got is so big for this. There's going to be many phases.
Yeah.
We don't have to have it all perfect down the set, stage 100, but to get started, I'd say Facebook group. And then I would make the content, not the sprint content public, but the actual Q&A section, and edit it. Because the beginning of that video is going to be pretty not great, right? Hey guys, okay, day 2, here we are. Who's got a question? That's going to be, you got to edit that. And then if you have time, I'd pick individuals and go deeper and spend half an hour with them into a deep coaching, dive into the mindsets, the psychology, the environment, the habits, why they want to do this, where they're
one at a time.
And like for half an hour.
I got you.
Because you need time to get into something.
Yeah.
There's 20 people in this group, and you're doing a big group Q&A. If we did this, you'd have one question. Hey, Evan, how do I blank? And I try to answer that question as quickly as possible and then move on, which is fine. But this gives you a chance to go deeper with somebody, especially when you're talking about the mental side and psychology of the person. You got to dig into things because the answer they give you is almost never the actual answer. And so you need time to dig in with them and let them have their aha moment. And in you getting them the aha moment, everybody else is like, oh my God, that person's like me. Who's this guy? What, Greg, what? Freedom, huh? How do I join the H40 challenge? I'm in.
Yeah. So one more question for you. We have all these with Freedomology. We have all these, we call them mental inventions. And so while there is science to losing weight or becoming healthier, there's also conflicting science, right? There's some people that say, paleo or carnivore. And then other people say, carb restrictive diets are terrible for women, hormones, and terrible for metabolic flexibility long term. So we have quite a few really what we think are pretty, not radical ideas, but really baked in science. How, as we're doing these sprints, how often do we post a new mental invention? Like every week? If we're doing sprint, if we're doing demonstrate the process content every week or a few times a week, how hard do you pound the drum on an idea for that idea to sort of take off? Like if the Freedomology Labs channel on YouTube specifically I'm talking about, So we've got a lot of good demo the process content. How long should these mental invention ideas be? Like, should these be an hour, like 60 minutes, 90 minutes? You know, Sean was talking about that's some of the fastest growing stuff on YouTube.
Yeah. The mental inventions are just around diet or around everything?
They're around everything.
Okay. But
yeah,
a lot of the other stuff is not as personal selection. Like Adam is for everybody.
correct.
There's no like other version of Sarah or something in the morning, right? It's Adam in the morning, right? But diet is going to be dependent, right? There might be different versions.
Yep.
Working out, fairly consistent or like super all over the place?
Well, we have two tracks. We have this question that we call the icky question. So ICCY, and it's like, it's very simple. It's, you know, like I've worked out, I went to the gym, I've gone to the gym for a decade plus, and my weight and sort of muscle tone and body sort of regulated itself. And I thought I was committed to physical health, but I realized that I was only sort of interested in my diet, right? I was committed to going to the gym, but I was only interested in diet. So for me personally, when I moved from interest to commitment, when it came to my diet, that's when I started to see like drastic change. So
for sure.
So absolutely. I think getting people from being interested in health to committed to their health to even crazy. You've heard of like 75 hard, yeah. I'm sure.
Andy. Yeah. Andy's a friend.
Yep. So obviously that's crazy, you know, in a good way. I don't even say crazy in a bad way.
Right.
I think.
Okay. So Andy, like, it's a great model to follow that he says, do 2 workouts and one outside, but doesn't tell you what to do. Right. But you have to drink a gallon of water, which is the hardest thing of all of the things that I found for 75 hard. And the diet, he doesn't tell you which diet to stick to. He just says stick to a diet for 75 days. So what I would think of is if you have enough members to create cohorts based off of wherever people split apart, that could be its own cohort.
Yeah.
So H40 could be H40 paleo, and then the H40 fasting, or the H40 for women. And then you introduce the what's it called again?
So mental inventions
that fits for that group, because all the other stuff is probably going to be the same or pretty close. The morning routines, the environment, the habits, the mindset, the limiting beliefs, all of that is going to be the same. And if the only difference is at the front, okay, we have some people who are like, if there's a male female difference, if there's a paleo carnivore diet different, put them together, put all the carnivore diet people together, put the women together who want to fast together. Then it becomes like a hyper focused, super love group, because people can't find people who are like them, which is a huge value of freedomology.
Yeah.
It's like people can't find like-minded people to do these challenges with because their friends and their family don't support them, don't understand them. But now if you can layer on top the way they're going to do it is the same, that if I'm going to go keto and I'm like craving carbs and I just can't have it because I'm on the keto H40, there's other people in the group who understand the pain that I'm going through.
Right.
So I would segment out people based off of those frameworks, because once you get that settled, everything out, like 90% of the course is all going to be the same. But the key thing is the selection.
Yeah.
Like getting the right people together. If community is so important, getting the right people in the room takes care of most of the problems.
Yeah. Okay, good. That's good stuff, man.
Let's go.
My biggest takeaway from the conversation with Evan was the importance of building a community. And I think instinctively we knew that. So we knew that, you know, that was going to be one of the things that we have to do right. But I think after talking to Evan, it's like the main thing we have to get right. And, you know, an extension of that is like go to people where they're at. So we have sort of 2 groups going with Freedomology. One's on Facebook, and then one's just, you know, external through our blog and website and like an email subscriber list. So I think just the concept of combining our ideas. So like taking all of these, we call them mental inventions. We have a bunch of different mental inventions around, you know, better health, let's say physical and mental health. And we're organizing those into H40, what we call H40, which is a 40-day sprint, like a transformation. So a 6-week sort of week by week sprint. And I think that's going to be great just to help us launch the community. Like get, you know, we have to start with the first person. And if we can make an impact on one person's life, we can make an impact on 10 and then 100 and then 1,000. But I think it's that key focus, like, again, talking to Evan, Like focus on how you can help one person versus how you're going to change the world. I think if you like, people change the world one person at a time, and it sounds a little bit cliche, but I think when you're able to make an impact and make someone's life better through the implementation of an idea, that's a powerful thing. So
I have been in the human resource and entrepreneur field for over 26 years. My passion is women because A, I'm a woman. B, I transitioned from being a divorced single mom. I was divorced after 18 years and had 2 children at that time. And I had to just really get myself together, to replace that income that was lost. And honing in on that is where I am today, which is being an HR consultant and business advisor to female entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals who either want to do career changes or they want to increase their business, their revenue. I still work. That's where I'm advising. I have a staff. And I'm doing more HR advising to the C-suite of a nonprofit. So the beautiful thing though is that it is a little bit flexible. And so I'm able to, also really work on my coaching and consulting practice. I opened that 3 years ago. And honestly, I'm getting more into the swing of things of, really what I want for this company to look like. It's so freeing when you operate in your purpose, the things that matter to you most, and then you have impact. And then to me, it's like a full cycle, because the more you do that, the more freedom you have. I know you have times in your life where you were in the moment and time stopped. And when that happens, you operate in such a level of freedom that is beautiful and it impacts other people. And so those are my words, and that is how I crafted my company, Red Hot Mist, or Red Hot Mover and Shaker. And that's when women, I think they're so beautiful all the way around, when they're operating in their purpose and they're having impact and they're able to do the things they need to do for themselves, their families, and those that are around them.
I have 2 audiences that I serve, so that my heart wants to serve. And one is professional business women, professional business owners, and professional career women. So both of those are the audiences. And my question is, what is your take on niche, right? And the marketing for that? Sometimes I feel conflicted. Okay, to be honest with you, with my posts, even with the Biz Dev Show, my heart is in both places. And I just wanted to get your take on it. So professional career women and then female business owners. And those are the 2 sets of people that I want to help.
They're not that different. So if you said like professional women, or I don't know, like dog owners or something, ours like way okay, right. So what are we helping them solve? What do you help people with?
So I help them live their life's work. I help them do their life's work, whether they choose to do it as an employee or they choose to do it as a business owner, entrepreneur. I have an HR background, and so I help them navigate. Both of my clients are feeling burnt out. They're feeling stretched thin. They're feeling unappreciated. They're not fulfilled. And so I help them navigate to operating on purpose and then putting in policies and procedures for the business owners. So far as for the professionals that I help navigate them into, they may be making a midlife career change. They may be wanting to advance the career ladder and they're feeling stuck. So in both instances, both of my clients are feeling stuck, right, in what they're doing.
Yeah, they're feeling stuck. They don't have fulfillment. They don't necessarily even know what the next step is. They feel locked in. Even a business owner can feel locked in. It's like, I've been doing this for how many years and I don't know like my identity is this company, and if I leave,
Correct.
then what do I become? So it all depends on the themes that you like. If those are the main themes you help people with, then it doesn't matter as much whether they're an entrepreneur or they are corporate. It's just the problems that you're helping them with are basically the same. And it's women only.
Yes.
You're helping successful women get unstuck.
Got it. Okay.
And
Okay.
then
I
all of the
like that.
content is around that. And the Biz Dev show. So who are you having people come on your show?
I had a young lady she has a nonprofit and for-profit, where she helps single parents. So hers are men and women. And so with her, she's, building her brand, she's expanding, and she was my first guest. My second one, so she can, also have, she has connections that she's also referred me to as well to help. The second guest I have is a business attorney, and she's a tax attorney. She does both, and so that's scheduled for next week.
Okay. Yeah.
Honestly, I needed some affirmation,
That's great.
confirmation. This has been my dream for so long, Evan. And I have human resources and entrepreneurship. That's my background, over 26 years of that. And I know that I'll be ending my professional life in my coaching and consultant practice. And so that's the path that I'm on.
What's been your dream for so long?
Having a coaching and coaching and a coaching practice, and that I help entrepreneurs. Really what I'm doing, but that also encompasses speaking engagements, masterminds, and coaching programs. And so it was my dream. I started it 3 years ago, right? So continuing on after being in human resources for over 20 years. I know I look 20. I started when I was 10.
You're looking good.
But no, so I didn't, with all those years of experience, I want to help others. And I especially want to help women. I've been in that position where I've had to do career changes. I've had to start over. I've been burnt out. And I've also been in despair. And what's helped me is to hit in that reset button. And I want to help others do the same.
Would a big company HR division hire you, or do they see you as competition, like, oh, our own team can handle this?
I think it could be both. I think that if you have, let's say, a nonprofit that their budget is stretched and they can't do an ongoing, have an employee or HR director or CHRO to do those things, then that's definitely who I can help. So far as the competition piece, if they have a full team, where I've been in that position where, in times past, that when I was working, they have companies who have come in and pitched us, right, to help, but yet that was leadership's perspective. Oh, we have them. They can do that, right? And we don't need to spend this extra money on this outside party to do that. So I have thought about that. How can I help on a bigger perspective corporations to do those things? Because I've also been doing leadership training with younger HR professionals. They're younger in their careers and they need to expand, not just from an education standpoint, but they need to expand their reach, their people skills, and how they connect and solve problems.
I love it. And in talking to you, you got a big mission. You got a big dream. You got big goals. You want to do all the things, which is amazing. It's great. Looking forward to seeing you on stages sometime soon. And so then the challenge inside of a big dream is staying focused on, like, what's the thing that's going to help get us to the next step?
Correct.
What's the thing that's going to help drive some revenue so that you can hire a team to help you do all the other stuff?
That's right.
If I'm you, I wouldn't be targeting nonprofits, mostly because they have a need, but they don't have the budget.
Right.
I do a lot of stuff for free. When I did my speaking tour, I always gave away free tickets to people in the area, in the community. Mm-hmm. We partnered with a veterans group where they had entrepreneurs that, hey, any veteran from this group gets to get into the event for free. And we didn't Like we didn't market that. We didn't promote. We didn't say, oh, that's the free person who came in, right? We've had homeless people like that we gifted tickets to. Like you wouldn't know they're homeless. Like not everybody who's homeless looks like they're homeless, right? You can't really make a big business off of nonprofits. It's definitely part of maybe where you want to go in the future. But right now we got to get you paid so that you can have teams so that you can spend a lot more time doing nonprofits and free and everything else.
Gotcha.
So the two places I would look at are either corporate, how can you not be seen as competition to whatever company, Coca-Cola, General Motors, whatever big company? Why would Google come in and hire you? Or is there nothing? Or are you just seen as, no, like we have somebody who does what she does? Even if it's not true, if they think it's true, then it's true.
It's true.
So is there a model for you to target corporate? And if it's not, then the next step is, because corporate throws budget around so much easier than definitely nonprofit and even entrepreneurs. Like most entrepreneurs don't have budget to hire someone seasoned like you to come in and help them. And my heart is in entrepreneurship, right? And like lots of the stuff I do is free, all the YouTube content, all of that stuff. Most of the stuff I do is free, but if I need to make money, it's not going to be off of startup entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
If corporate doesn't work and there's no model there, then the next one is the rapidly growing companies. So if you look at the Inc. 5,000 list, like the fast growing companies, so they're entrepreneurial, and what they're missing is all of the structure and all of the systems and procedures and like the stuff that from HR, from being at big companies. They're like, oh my gosh, we didn't even know we needed to do that.
Right.
What do you mean we have to have a blank? They have a strong need, but they're growing so quickly that a lot of times they're building on quicksand.
Yes.
They need to keep their entrepreneurial fast pace, but now also start to bring in some of the corporate best practices and policies and like things we didn't think about before. And HR is usually, when they think of HR, they're thinking just hiring.
Right. It's so much bigger.
But they don't, like, we're growing so fast, I can't even hire enough people to keep up with this thing. And it's like, okay, let me solve your problem for you. Here's what we need to do. Here's a structure. You don't think about it. I'll help you with it. And they're growing, like the good thing about a company like that, like the Inc. 5000, is they're growing, they have sales coming in.
Right.
So they're making money.
Right. Yes.
But they don't have systems and procedures. And that's what they need help with. And,
Okay. That's
so
fantastic.
Either of those two models would be, like, I'd be trying to think, what can you bring to the corporate market that they wouldn't see you as competition, or at least some of them wouldn't see you as competition. It's like, okay, instead of us trying to figure this out, like Tanya's figured this out, so let's have her come in. Do you see that as a legit model, or you think you're going to be seen mostly as competition to them? Like, we have somebody.
As you were talking, what I realized is that because I've been in it, I can speak to that, right? And just address the elephant in the room. I'm not competition. And the reason being is because X, Y, and Z. And so, which is things that I've experienced. And you may even have, and I know I can connect from another, even with their having an HR professional there, we're collaborative, right? So it's like minds, just like movement makers, right? So we're like minds. And so if we know that we need something and we're at a deficit, I'm talking about from a corporate standpoint, then that gives us opportunity to be open to, okay, let me catch them really quickly and see what they can do for us, because we're definitely lost. So many professionals I have found, HR professionals, and even with, different circles, it's one man show or two man show, like one professional and then one maybe support person, even for 200, 500, 1,000, right? Employee run, company. And they're drowning because they're putting out fires every day. And so while they're putting out fires, then, okay, well, I need help. I may not need help across the board, but I do know that I need help with putting these pieces in order while I can go and put out the fire. At least I know that there's another person here to support me. And just hearing you say that, I can develop that framework so that I'm not seen as a competitor, but definitely an ally if they really
Yeah.
want to grow their
So
reach.
my favorite thing to do with selling is to not have to convince people. Here's what I've got to offer, and if that's what they need right now, amazing. Like, you join Movement Makers, you're trying to build a mission, you're trying to create content, it's great. Like, this is an awesome fit for you. Me going down the street and trying to pitch Movement Makers at a subway stop is like, I'm trying to convince people. And you could be the best salesperson in the world, but if you're talking to the wrong people, you just end up spinning your wheels. So
Yeah.
I would love to create a model for you where we're talking to the right people and it just makes sense. So there's no convincing or no selling. It's like, they see you as like, oh my God, thank God that Tanya's here. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that was my question around the corporate. How many of them would actually see you as a value add without you having to convince them that you're not competition?
The only thing I can think of is if they only have one person.
Right.
I mean, they're short staffed, right? And yes, they're doing a great job, but they cannot do everything. That is the message, right? They have it, but they can't get to everything.
So it's targeting smaller companies. We're not going after Coca-Cola and Google and Facebook and Ford and whatever.
No,
We're going
right.
after smaller
Right.
companies
Right.
who only have one person who's in HR. And
Right.
you could start looking at LinkedIn and looking at, who's at the company and how many people are in HR. And we just want one person in HR.
Right.
And then I think the Inc. list of the fastest growing companies in the country could be they might have an HR person, they might not have an HR person, but either way, they're growing like crazy,
right.
thousands of percent, and like they don't know what they're doing, and they're for sure making a ton of mistakes along the way, and they just want someone to handle it for them.
I like it. I like it. I like it. And you said the Inc. list, and I think you had mentioned another one earlier. You said Fortune, I think.
Anything that's like a fastest growing company is great to look at. But there's like the Inc. 5000 is 5,000 names. So you don't need 5,000 clients to build this business.
Right. No.
So it's like there's a cap. Like if you're coaching and you're getting beyond 20, 30 clients, it's like you can't handle that anymore. And then that's a different question. Do we just increase our prices? Do we train coaches underneath us? Do we launch a program? Like there's lots of ways. That's a great problem to have. If you're not making mid six figures, seven figures, it's like, let's go. We'll deal with that.
That's right.
Let's get there. So I think your easiest bets are the Inc. 5000 list. If I had to add a second one, I'd look at companies that got recently funded, like venture capital companies. So they just got $2 million in extra investment into their business.
Wow.
Again, it's like they have money. Wow. We need to target people. If you're at the beginning of your business, you have to target people who have money.
Right. You're right.
This is where we often will, if we get to like self-worth conversations, people may value what you're doing, but they can't afford to pay you what you're doing. And so that often leads to us devaluing ourselves. This is a big reason why entrepreneurs don't charge enough, because you're just targeting people who can't afford to pay you. There's nothing wrong with you, or you can give the same advice to a company that is paying tons of money and the company who's at the pure startup phase. Is like the same framework, same advice, but one company is paying you 100 times more than the other one. And so targeting people who can't pay you doesn't mean that you suck. And that's where a lot of times where it's like, oh, my friend works here, or it's this nonprofit or whatever. And then it beats us down because it's like, oh, man, I'm not making any money and I know I can help people.
Right.
So a lot of it's just in the targeting of the people. So it's like, we need to get in front of the people who can afford to pay us. And from there, you could do anything you want. Like you go build your mid 6-figure company. After that, you tell me, I'll be there for the next step too. You want to build a team? We want to build a coaching program to train other people. You tell me, we'll do it.
Absolutely, Evan. That is the goal, because there's more reach. And, I know we only have a few more minutes left. And so even with that, I thought about with the mastermind, piece, I did have this one question too. Do you advertise a mastermind or lead people to an upsell, like make that an upsell, or do you wait until you know they like you, know you, and want to do business with you?
Yeah, so we have a mastermind. It's basically Movement Makers Plus. Like in our
Right.
breakout rooms today, if you're on the session, we have our breakout rooms, and I go into the breakout room with the mastermind members, and then we meet 4 times a year here in Toronto. But everybody who's in mastermind is a member of Movement Makers.
Okay.
So they're a member first, and then I guess it's an upsell. I don't really see it as like selling. It's just, hey, if you want more access, you want to go faster, they join, and it's a smaller community with direct access to me. So same thing, like if you're working with some of these HR professionals or even the entrepreneurs who are managing it, is there a level up where they're meeting with you, but also a value of a mastermind is they get to connect with each other?
Yes.
There was this project in Canada, I'm from Toronto, that was called the Judy Project. And this was, there was this woman who passed, but she was very famous in the, for women in professional success. And what she would do is every year, so the Judy Project is every year, all the top companies in Canada send one woman who they see as being a potential C-suite person. Bank of America sends one woman, like, we see you as being a potential CEO, CFO, whatever, right? And they each send one woman to this group. And then they bring in speakers. And I was the only man invited to have, it's all women, like, oh, hello, hey, everybody. But I spoke at the event, and it's a 3-day retreat that they do. And they learn from speakers, so me and other speakers, but then they also get to connect with each other. And so the value of a mastermind is not just learning from Tanya, it's that they also get to meet each other, learn from each other, connect with each other. So that could be a separate program where maybe you even target the big corporations, where you're saying, okay, hey, send me 1 or 2 of your up and coming women, and we want to make sure they stay. We want to make sure they're happy. We want to make sure they grow. We want to make sure like you get their best. And especially if you're only working with women, you can say, well, the growth to professional success is very different for a woman than a man, and here's why. We want to keep these women in the company, and I've developed a program to do it. And they send 1 or 2 women a year, and you've got, or a quarter or whatever, right? And you make a deal with enough companies that then you're just facilitating, even if it was just them, you don't even have to share anything. You just facilitating the conversation with them, because they'll bring up their own problems and be able to help each other out. So the mastermind concept is that they're helping each other out. It's not only learning from you at the front of the room. So if you go then to your biz dev show, who are the best people now to bring on? Well, it's find the companies that have one HR person and bring on that HR person and talk to them about HR and the struggles they're facing and advice they have. And then at the end, you've built a relationship with them to say, hey, if you need extra help, this is what I do.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And honestly, what I do, I've had those conversations, right? And to create those safe spaces, because in HR, you can't just talk to any and everybody about the things that are happening. And then you definitely can't show all your feelings, because you need to think about the company and the employee. You need to think about risk. And it doesn't matter if you are moved, to one way or the other, if it taints your vision, right? And it taints the advice that you're giving. And so I've had those conversations of having that safe space and giving advice. And I never thought about it the way you articulated it that way. So thank you.
Cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, those are
thank you.
Probably your best bets. Like if it's a fast growing company and HR is overwhelmed and they don't have enough time for training and they don't know what they're doing, but they have money because they're growing quickly. We're not trying to catch companies that are going out of business and filing for bankruptcy and all this stuff, because they have a bunch of HR issues too. but they can't pay
that
you
I don't
yet.
want to touch.
Right. Well, not yet. Like eventually go read my book, go read my best-selling book, go watch my YouTube videos. You're going to have stuff for them. Well, we're going to bring that into existence. But at the beginning, yeah, targeting who are the 10 people that we need that have budget, that are growing quickly, that are stressed out and overwhelmed and need guidance and support, and get those people on the show. And if you're targeting the HR person, like nobody ever asks HR people to be on an interview show, so it's relatively easy to get a yes from an outreach. And then we start building.
I love it. I love it.
Let's go, Tanya.
I love it.
Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you for
I appreciate your time.
Welcome,
Absolutely.
Makers. Having you. It's awesome having you in the family.
Yes.
And can't wait to see all your success.
Awesome. Thank you, Evan. I appreciate you so much. I do.
It went so great. I'm telling you, I have like notes, I have things everywhere. But it went so well. I enjoyed it. It was so surreal. It was like I was witnessing like an outer body experience. Like I'm seeing this and what he does with other people. But then in my head, I'm like, oh my God, he's not doing it with other people. He's doing it with me. And that for me was just, it was just fire. I mean, that's just all I can say. It was absolutely pure fire. Oh.
To see me coach other entrepreneurs, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
You don't need to tell people to subscribe to your channel.
Yeah.
For me, it's all about energy. Like you just need to give them a reason that, man, when I'm with her, I just feel better.
Yeah.
And so I want to subscribe and watch more videos.
Yeah.